This week on SV Lynx. Welcome to this week's SV Lynx video. Well, on our last video, we managed to get the Bimini up, and in this video, we're going to show you working on the line handling area under this Bimini.
Right, because we wanted some shade to work. And the thing is that we had a problem with it. And the winches had a bad angle, which I will show you right here, where coming out of the clutch, the clutches need to be higher, the winches need to be angled differently. They just weren't working with the manufacturers of the clutch and winches recommendations for the angle that the line has to come out of the clutch or into the winch. The only way to fix it was to chop our helm up, and or at least our line handling portion of the helm, and reconfigure the whole thing. So we're going to show you how we did that. So let's get right to it. Well, there's no getting around it. The time has come to cut loose and reconfigure this whole line handling area. So that came out really nicely. This is the top of the rope that comes along here and then turns and comes through here. So this is important that we didn't cut that. This stuff here is just foam anyway here, so that's no problem anywhere. But this one here, that's a serious rope that we couldn't cut. Okay, so our goal here is to bring this up like this. We're going to raise it a little bit right there. That changes the angle of the attack of the line coming into the winch. Now when I tilt this, this sticks out further there, so we'll probably have to trim off the back end to get this flush again, because I don't want to take this fill that we did here out. So back here is just foam, so we can cut that back.
All right, so we've sanded and smoothed out the surfaces where our new pieces go in. So we've got this little triangular piece that's going to go over here, and then we've got a couple of new risers that are going to be going in here. And we're going to glue that and the top down onto them right now, so we can get the first level of this taken care of. So Brian's mixing right now.
This morning we're still working on the helm reconfigure, and it's all set up here now from yesterday on its new angle. But this is the next issue, because if we have a winch sitting here and we want to wind that handle, it's fine up here, but because this is at an angle, as you're getting towards the end, you would be dipping down and catching this corner. And so what we decided to do is just bevel this corner, and now you'll have no issue with the full-size handle, the 10-inch handle coming through here. And so that solves that problem. And if we go downstairs and look at where that is, this is a little unused corner anyway. It doesn't matter that we put a piece in here because the stand-up refrigerator ends right about here, below this. And so this little space right here is used for nothing. And so having it a little bevel there isn't going to cause any trouble to the inside in here. Now just so you know, we might build a little cupboard up there, but the back corner of the cupboard would be a little lower, but that would still, and it would hide that once we built the cupboard in there. So next up is to cut a flat piece for here, which Brian is in our offcuts looking for a piece that we can cut here. So we'll just match up this edge pretty well. Cut this one just a little long, and then we can just don't worry about the angle so much. It'll overhang a little bit, and we'll just grind that off flat so it's a perfect fit. As soon as that's finished up here, we're going to get back to the next piece, which is putting in a plate right here, and it has to go up about this far, and we have to build G10 underneath it here because this has bolts coming through from two separate clutches, and they need non-compressible. So we have to build this up with G10, and of course we have to core the foam underneath of it so that the bolts aren't compressing the foam. And then on the other side of that foam is a really thick piece of G10, so this is going to be very, very strong once that's all in. We're also going to need to glass all of this in today. So we've got to do a bunch of tabbing in here to strengthen these joints up because, again, we're going to be pulling up on this, and we need this to be very, very strong. Okay, now that this corner is glued on, once it's set up, we can sand a little bit here, get it flush, round the corners, round these as well to match it all, fill this little gap that's at the top there, and tab all that stuff. So, but that's going to make it so that when the winch is sitting right here and it's at an angle like this, your hand has that space to go through with the winch handle. So that really works out solving that issue. Now, the reason we had to come over and get into this, why not put the winch over here, and then the handle wouldn't reach that corner. The problem there is that moves us onto a part where it goes flat and then angles down, and we have to deal with how this would bridge that, and we'd have this big gap underneath it here. Now what we're doing right now is we're going to cut our bottom G10 plate that goes under the winches right here. And that's this little section we have here. This should take a while because we're going to use this cutoff blade, and this is pretty thick, tough stuff. All right, so that's our first cut, and this one's the one that goes underneath the winches, but now we have to cut each of the ones that goes underneath the clutches. So put this one aside. right. I guess it's okay for now. We've been defeated by batteries. I'm gonna have to order some more. We've had a couple of failures of our larger batteries, and so we've been running out. So I'll have to get some new ones. We'll be back when the batteries are charged. All right, let's finish. We can finish this one off. These are our 3 clutch plates. The first one goes right there. It's notched to fit around this mullion. That goes in there. The second one, we don't have to notch it because it's got no mullion, so it just fits right flat against the top here. No problem at all. But there's something we had to think about here. There's a couple different methods of mounting G10 onto a surface like this. You can bond it, because this is fiberglass. You just have to rough it up, and then you can bond it on there. But that's not the only technique. The other technique is to not bond it at all and just put it up here and put bolts through the device, and the bolts hold it up against there, and you don't have to bond it at all. Each have their advantages. If you put a layer of thickened epoxy between here, you're going to make a perfect surface so that there's no high spots. It's all pushing the same. And so there's an advantage to doing that. But there's also a disadvantage, of course, which is it's permanent. You can't take it off. So what we've decided to do is one of each. The bottom ones here are all going to be bonded on. So we're going to permanently bond these 3 bottom ones on. But the top ones up here are going to be different, because these are a thinner plate, and that one sits right there. And what we're going to do is just bolt this one on, and we're not going to bond it. And the real simple reason for that is when you put your clutch on here, you have to drill through the holes of where it mounts. Then you have to core out the foam underneath, because you can't have compressible foam. So you have to core out under each bolt, refill with epoxy, re-drill through that, and then put your plate back on again and put your bolts in your clutch in. The problem there is if we bond this at that point permanently, and later we decided that we wanted to switch to a different manufacturer of clutch, for example, well, this would be permanently bonded. How would we re-core for the new bolt pattern? But if it's just bolted on, we can remove the bolts, take the clutch off. This will come right up, fill the 4 holes that we had in there, re-drill new holes for the new clutch, re-drill those, drill new holes in this, put it down, bolt the new clutch in, and we're all set. As long as we haven't got this bonded, we have that ability to remove this plate and re-drill. We never have to worry about the bottom one, because we're only coring down to that one. So it can be permanently bonded, where this one, if it's removable, allows us to change bolt patterns if we ever had to. So we've got a little template here for our winch, and we figured out exactly where we want it and put our template on there. Drilled through the template to mark the holes, and now we're coring each hole out to fill with epoxy. And so we'll just fill that. And then to get the big plate, this one that goes on top of here, and get the holes in the right spot, we can just place it on here and put a light underneath, and these things glow bright. And so at that point we can make sure that we know where these holes go. And we'll mark them on there, and then, but we're not going to drill those, because what we want to do is get the bottom plate on this cord and fill the top plate on, put the actual winch in place, and then drill through all of it to make sure that it's exactly the right spots on it. But for right now, we just need to drill and core these all. So I need my little coring drill. There it is. Now, since we don't want to go through the bottom because then we'd have to tape this off so that the epoxy didn't go through. So what we're doing is we're just drilling through the fiberglass on top, and then we'll take this out and use a Dremel to go down. And that way we can just fill these and epoxy can't go down. But we're all the way down on this, for example, all the way down to the fiberglass on the other side. Now I know that that is an irregular pattern right there, but that's the actual pattern that these bolts are in. So regardless of that being irregular, they are correct for this. So now we need to get the fiberglass off of here so that we can use the Dremel. So we're just going to pop these loose. Like that. Now we're down to foam, so we can just use the Dremel. Thing to remember is these holes don't have to be super accurate right now. That's because we're putting this large of a coring in there, and so if they're off by a millimeter or something, when we drill the real hole, they're going to be perfect because we'll come right down through the hole from the winch plate. So we just have to be pretty close. So now what I'm up to is much bigger. This is the hole for the electric motor that we want to be able to attach later. Well, right off the bat for the first winch, but these two we're going to add them later. But we still want the hole prepared now so that we don't have to redo this all once we want to put the electric motors on. They just go right in. Another hole in the boat. So now you know why we put this up here, because just a lot of work to go here, and we're shaded now the whole time we're working on this. But I just went extra wide on this to make sure that the bolt going through wasn't too close to the edge of the epoxy. Also gives it more compression support the wider these holes are. So I went max width that I could go, and that's right as I'm getting to the edge of this, but that's okay. It all works. So we're ready for epoxy on all this. We're going to get these filled first before we core the center one, because we might go into the epoxy a little bit. So we'll do it in 2 stages. Time to have a moment of truth test here. Does our winch fit with the electric motor? It does. And that is where that is going to go. Now the winch handle isn't level with this. It's up some like this, but you can see why we had to take this corner out, because your hand's going to be here now, and you're not going to have any issue coming across here. We've got to wrap a line, and when you're doing that, your hand's going to want to swing out, you know, doing that. So that's going to be nice too. And the holes all work out from the inside. That's how much of the electric motor has to come down. That's not bad at all. So we'll bring the cupboard real close to this, about maybe this far down, get a little room for the wires over here. And that's going to give us a little more cupboard space than I thought. And eventually they'll be all electric, so that's why we drilled all 3, because there's going to be 3 electric motors through there. But for money purposes, we started with just the one, although I'm very seriously considering just going ahead and ordering a second one. And I'll just choose which of these 2 that I want to put the second one on for now. We'll just go with 1 manual and 2 electric to start with. Now eventually the winches that are out on the corners of the stern, those are going to start out manual, but we're going to eventually turn those into electric as well, because, you know, I'm not getting any younger, and as we get older, it's going to be tougher and tougher to winch that stuff. So it'd be nice to have the electrics. So anyway, that's starting to work out. Unfortunately, it's too warm now to do any more epoxy work today, because we need to fill these. We need to core and fill this. We need to tab all this stuff. We're going to tab this before we do much more. We'll fill this, and then we'll tab over it. And because when we drill down, it'll be fine to go right through that. So we'll fill these. We'll tab everything. We'll core this after it sets up, and tab that. Fill that. And then the very next thing after that is to mount all of these top and bottom plates into their positions there, so that we can start mounting our clutches onto there. And we won't actually mount the clutches, but we'll get them and drill and core and get them all working, just like the winch. It's not going to be sitting here. This is just here as a test. So we're going to put this back in the box now, since we know it works. And this won't come out again until this is all done and painted. We just wanted it to have one test to make sure before we do a bunch of epoxy work here that we didn't screw something up, and we didn't. Looks good. Barely beyond the crack of dawn, so we're here very, very early, because it's going to get, as I mentioned already, very hot today. So we're starting super early so that we can get some epoxy work done. First thing we're going to do is fill all these cored holes that we did. And we're going to put a cove along this edge here, and then down inside we've got to put some coves up along that edge and over in the corner there, and a little bit up top here as well. So a bunch of coves and fills. So we're going to mix up big batch of thickened epoxy, and while Brian's doing that, I'll clean all this. Right now it's just been vacuumed, but I've still got to get some alcohol out here and clean it all. And then once we've got that in, we'll start by tabbing the areas that we already coved, so that they're don't set up too much. And once that's done, we'll move on to the areas that don't need epoxy and start tabbing those around here. So we got a bunch of tabbing to do. Now we've already cut all the tabbing and all of the peel ply yesterday so that we didn't have to waste time this morning getting that done while we still have a cool temperature. So straight to epoxy work. So we'll get started. I'm going to start by filling all of these. Okay, so next up, we're going to put a cove down here and then go to the inside and do some work on the interior. You know, most of the tabs in on the bottom side here, and I'm going to go up top and start doing the top side, but Brian's going to roll out the metal roller here and then put the peel ply on while I mess with that other stuff. Okay, so this one's all double tabbed, and now, like I say, Brian's going to roll out with the metal and then put the peel ply on. So we've got it all done now. So peel ply on. Thing completely tabbed in, top and bottom. So well on its way now. With our helm setting up right now, line handling area, we decided to get back to our bugaboo of life, which is the Daggerboards. You'll remember in the last time we worked on the Daggerboards, we added a piece up at the front so that we could round off the edge in a more bullnose fashion. It was too sharp, and that really worked out well. And we only have maybe another hour or so before the temperature gets too warm to do any work. Mostly because it'll kill us. We can sand, you know, other than that the compressor is going to get hot and such, but mostly it's just that when we get up near 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 38 degrees centigrade, it's just a little warm to be doing physical labor like that. But right now it's about 86 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'll put that up there in Celsius. So we can still sand for another hour or so, and then it's going to get too hot. So you can see that these are set up after just only a couple hours here. I could probably pull the peel ply on these tabs, but I'm going to leave it for now just to make sure it's fully set up. But the next thing we're going to do is core the foam out in these large openings and then put in some thickened epoxy around the edges here of these three. And that's not about strength, it's about sealing it so that moisture can't get into the foam. Remember that there's G10, big G10 plate on top of here, and an even bigger, thicker one on the bottom. So this whole area is sandwiched between large plates of G10, so it's very strong. It doesn't need any kind of rope. We just need to seal it for water. It's Friday morning, and we're going to continue some work on our line handling area. First thing we got to do is get the peel ply off of here, and then next thing we're going to be doing is coring out these large openings for the electric motors of our winches. I believe that's all of them. Nope, I got one more. There we go. Okay, that's all nice. Now it's pretty early since we wanted to get here and get to work before it got too hot today. So we can't make too much noise, but this Dremel hopefully won't be too loud. We'll see. So now we'll just need a little thickened epoxy here, and I'll get these cleaned up and let Brian mix me up some. We'll get going. All right, so that job's done. Our next thing is going to be to mount these G10 plates. Now we're not gluing them, but we do have to get them marked in here. As part of our reconfiguring of the helm for our clutches and winch angles, we had to do a little build up, and we're going to glue that together right now. Otherwise, we end up with about a 13-degree entry to the winch, and the maximum entry that almost every manufacturer, if not every manufacturer, certainly all the ones we looked up, is 10 degrees into the winch or into the clutch, either way. So it doesn't really matter which brand you decide to go with. This has nothing to do with our Garhauer stuff. This was Harkin and Lumar and Antel. So we have to build this angle up to get it down to 10 or less degrees. So that's what we're doing today. These are the little add-ons we're going to see. You'll see when we glue them into the helm area what that looks like. There we go. And so we're making these out of off-cut pieces of G10 that we had left over from some other stuff. They're just filler that we don't want, want it to be incompressible. So this is incompressible, but it's just a filler below the main plate and the lower plate. Those are solid. These are just fillers, so they can be pieces. Once this is all glued up, we're going to sand these edges a little bit, smooth them out. Good enough for this stage. The reason for all this is this is a weird curve with two different angles and stuff that we have to try to flatten out. Again, we'll sand the edges, get them nice, and then we're going to be doing a thickened epoxy fill across here to make that smooth, but we didn't want to do all thickened epoxy, so this G10 takes up a lot of the bulk of it, and now we'll just smooth out the stair steps with thickened epoxy. So this looks good. I'm going to walk away from it now before I mess it up. This strange contraption that we built here is because it has to take this piece, and this has to sit at a strange angle here up on the roof. And so we had to build up that back corner there, like so. And so this is our Sydney Pollock right here that we figured out what we wanted, and needed to make this match this, but three-dimensionally now. So that looks like that worked out, and now we're working on, that's the outboard winch, and now Brian's over here fixing up, take two. Brian's over here working on the plates to support the inboard winch. This is our number 46 winch that'll be electric, and now he just threw his, Brian! Things dirtier than they started.
Take three.
Brian's over here making the plates that are going to go underneath the inboard winch, our number 46 size. It's a powered winch, and it only has one slope, so it's a more even direction than that other one, which had to go at two different angles. This is just one angle, but it also had to be built up higher than that one, so we've got a lot of thicker G10 plates here. So he just sanded them up and ready for gluing, and now just cleaning them up so that we can put them on. We're back on the Daggerboards, and remember we added this new foam bullnose, which we have looking very nice now. But that made, since this used to go to a point down here instead of a round, it made this part right here a little low. And it's about maybe 1/8 of an inch or 3 to 4 millimeters low, but only in the center part, then it feathers out to the sides. So we're gonna do a little fill along this section here. We'll do the other side when this one's set up, and that'll get the curve back to the way it's supposed to look on here. And but we've really fixed that leading edge now. It's much nicer. So that's what we're doing right now. Brian's over here mixing up our thickened epoxy, and then I'm going to scrape it on here in just a moment. All right, so we've I'm sorry, the camera shut themselves off, but we filled this with that 1/8 inch, and just curved our blade and followed along here and cleaned up this edge, which was already perfect, so we didn't want any there. Filled a few little holes here in the epoxy, and at this point we don't want to touch this anymore. We'll have to do the other side similarly. But that's it for today, because it's about 84 degrees right now, and that's as hot as it can be before we can't epoxy this in Celsius. And so we're going to call it a day, because we can't do any work down here, and we don't want to sand down here and get dust on this. And we've got our stuff up at our helm setting up. We don't want to mess around up there either. And it's already warm, so we'll just call it a half day today and come back and hit it again tomorrow, again early in the morning when it's cooler, and probably again only go till maybe midday or so. Looks like we've got a delivery. I just got home from the lot, and the truck is pulled up. Let's go see what it is. Perfect. We'll deal with it from there. So what we got here is our dive compressor. So tell them why we need a dive compressor.
Why we need a dive compressor is that one of the main goals for Phil and Brian and many other people that are going to be on this boat is to dive in great places all around the world.
Right, so what we wanted was the largest dive compressor that we could get that would still run off of our battery power on the boat. And so
and this is it.
This is it. The good news is it doesn't look that big. And
No.
We do have to fit it into a fairly small compartment. So I'm actually very excited that it's that compact, and yet is a 150 liter, 220 volt, 50 hertz compressor. All right, awesome.
Much smaller than a dive compressor that we've had in our history before.
Yeah, that's true. We had I used to run a dive facility blocks away from here, where it was a store and training facility for scuba diving. And that's when I became a dive instructor and did that for years. And we had a very large compressor for filling tanks at the dive store, but this is a little bit smaller. This one will take more like, I'd say probably 20 minutes to fill one tank, but that's not too bad since we don't have to fill that many. It's not like a dive store.
Yeah,
anyway,
it's going to be perfect for our boat and friend and family use.
That's right. So let me grab a wrench and we'll pop this lid off real quickly here. Okay. So let's take a look. Very nice looking. It's electric, which is very important because our whole boat is electric. 2 fill hoses. I only thought it was coming with 1, so that's extra bonus. So we can fill 2 tanks at the same time instead of having to swap them between fills. That's really nice. And then the other things about this compressor is it's an auto shut-off compressor, so when we can pre-program it to a specific pressure, and then when it reaches that, it just shuts itself off. And it's also got self-draining, so as moisture builds up, it drains it automatically, so we don't have to remember every so often to go drain the moisture out. So very nice compressor, and at a very good price. The only trick was I had to wait for it, but I got plenty of time here, and obviously we already have it. So now we can, because we have the compressor, we can get it to the boat and build the structure in the compartment that's where it's going to hold this. These are the filters that we swap out. They're cartridge style filters, and I ordered a bunch of these. But the good news is these are a standard filter that we can find anywhere in the world. It's a Bauer filter, and those should be easy to find. Fill tube with a DIN fitting, which is good because that's what we're planning on using anyway, although they have adapter in case we have a tank that's using a standard yoke. That was nice. Just sent two of those, so pretty cool. All right, I'm gonna wrap it back up and head into the house. This morning we're getting started here with Brian and Jeff working on one of the Daggerboards. It's getting pretty far along now, so we'd like to get it finished up so that we can start making the templates and eventually the Daggerboard casing. But the other thing I was working on this morning was our risers over here for the clutches. So there's one there and there's one over here that are epoxied in right now, but we don't want them stuck to this yet. That's why there's a piece of peel ply underneath. So we're just getting the pieces leveled out and the stair steps out of those right now. So that's setting up, so I don't want to mess with that up here. And then the next thing we're going to be doing, as soon as that's set up a little bit, is working on the big piece of G10 that goes underneath it here. This is big, thick G10. Now this isn't the plate that goes there. Here's that G10 plate for up there. That's a big, huge piece. But we need that so that the winches are well supported from where they're pulling on this as you're tweaking on them. There's another piece of G10 that goes on top of here. Same shape, full size, goes on top of here as well. So I have to drill that one as well. Like you saw maybe from that camera up there, we just cut this off, and this is a 10-degree angle that Schoening wants this to be at, and then we have to curve where you see that line right there, the front edge here. This is the leading edge, and but you can see all of the offcuts that we put in to make this, how solid that is. So that came out really well. And this is that last new piece we put on to get this bullnose back onto here again. And so after we cut this off, then we got to smooth these edges, so we'll have to route these two edges to get them rounded on there. And while we're doing that, Jeff's up here continuing to sand, but we only have to get this so good. I mean, like right here, that looks fine, because we're going to be glassing this whole thing with multiple layers of glass, and then fairing on top of that to get a fair surface. So this is looking really good at this stage, and it's just about ready for glassing. A little bit of sanding more to go that he's working on, and we're going to work on grounding this and that edge right there. All right, it's time to fill the little low that we have from our new bullnose on this side. We did the one yesterday on the other side, and today we're going to get this one filled up. We're running out of epoxy time. We're at maximum temperature right now, unfortunately, because I had a lot of things I wanted to epoxy today, but it's one of those hot August days. We only have one more month of heat, typically, so we'll survive it, but we're still in it right now. So Brian's mixing up a maximum batch. The most we mix typically is 400 milliliters. Anything more in this kind of heat, it would kick off and we wouldn't be able to use it anyway. And we think 400 is just about what it's going to take to fill this anyhow. I think we're just going to have to sand, some of that, because if I mess with it, it's just going to mess the next thing up.
So we got pretty far on the line handling area this week, but we still have more to go next week. Yeah, and we'll get to that. But it's coming along, and it's all going to work now, and we've got it far enough that we know we've got it solved. And boy, we're back to work on those Daggerboards, which I don't know how many episodes ago that was that we started working on these things, but it's a long time ago. And they've just been sitting in my garage for a long, long period there before we got back to them this week some. But we're now concentrating on those because we want to get to work on all of the liquid tanks for diesel and black water, gray water. All that's under the floor in the hulls. And to do those, we need the Daggerboard casings in before we can do that. So then get the Daggerboard casings built, we need the Daggerboards. So we're going to get those Daggerboards done so that we can get to that. It's probably the biggest major job left on the entire boat construction to get that little thing I just said done. And so that's what we're going to be concentrating on pretty soon. We've got to finish up that line handling area, but and there'll be other little things as well, but we are going to focus on that big job. So thank you all for watching this week's episode. I know it was a long one, and if you're still here, thank you. Yes, thank you for joining us, and thank you to our patrons listed here. We couldn't do this without you. And just a personal note, this is my first time back at the lot in 2 months. So I'm doing better at recovery, and that's good for me. Yes. We're happy to see her back, and she's getting to the point now where you might actually see her here doing a little bit of work soon. A little bit, yeah. Can't do anything major, but little stuff. So we'll be happy to have Marianne back here working. Yeah. Don't forget to like, subscribe, click on the bell icon to be notified of our next video, and also share us. Yeah, all of that. Anyway, we'll see you all next week. Bye.